What's up, YouTube? Trashy here, back with more words for your ear holes. You know what? I'm leaving that in. As a big cozy gamer and a massive Lord of the Rings fan, I have been very excited to check out the game that we were talking about today, Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings game. I actually ended up with two different copies of this game, one on the Switch 2 and the other on PC that my friend Danny very kindly gifted to me. So aside from diving into the game itself, we're also going to be doing a bit of a comparison between PC and Switch 2 to see how it holds up. Now, I do feel the need to put a little disclaimer here at the start of the video. It is okay to not enjoy this game. It is also okay to enjoy it. I've seen a bit of a divide in the cozy gaming community over the past couple of weeks when it comes to Tales of the Shire, and I just want to say, leave each other alone. I understand that there's been some disappointment surrounding the game, and honestly, I agree with a lot of it, which we'll get into here in a bit, but I also think it's cool if you're enjoying it. That is the point of any game, really, so if you're having fun, do not let anybody else tell you that you're not. And if you're not enjoying the game for normal, valid reasons, it's also perfectly okay to say so, and nobody should be getting offended over it. This is definitely one of those things that it is okay to disagree on. That being said, this video is going to have a lot of opinions in it, and it is okay if you don't agree with them. However, if you are angry at the Hobbit's skin color or any of the other utterly trivial things I've seen some people complain about, I can guarantee you that you are not going to enjoy my content, so let's save everyone that particular headache and be civil about it. With that out of the way, let's get into it. I want to start by saying that when I found out that Weta Workshop was developing this game, I was instantly intrigued. Weta Workshop has a long-standing history of working on incredibly successful projects such as crafting sets, costumes, armor, weapons, and creatures for the Lord of the Rings movies, and their digital counterpart Weta FX produced the digital effects for Lord of the Rings and Avatar, some of the highest-grossing movies in history. Granted, the video games division of Weta Workshop was only started in 2014, but still, you can imagine why the game would have such high expectations. So let's start with the gameplay. This self-described cozy life simulation game is set between the events of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. This is kind of an important detail, but we will get to that later. The premise is as simple as it needs to be for a cozy game. You're a hobbit that's just moved to Bywater, and your goal, aside from chilling out and enjoying yourself, is to help establish Bywater as a real village. You get to play around a little with a pretty basic character creator, which is not necessarily a bad thing, it still has plenty of options to choose from, and when you're done, you can choose from a list of available names and surnames. You can also choose your own first name, but you will have to pick from a list of the available surnames, many of which have connections to the Lord of the Rings universe, obviously. Now, the only correct choice for me here was to call myself Trashy Maggot, because I don't take kindly to little hobbits stealing my food, and I would absolutely tell the Nazgul to get off my lawn. These are the eyes of a killer, Bella. Oh, sorry, wrong universe. You meet Gandalf pretty early on, he takes you to Bywater, and then he promptly leaves you to either go do mysterious wizard stuff or top up his mascara, or maybe both. Pretty soon, you're meeting the other villagers and being sent out on quests. The introduction quest has you running or skipping all over Bywater, trying to find the Book of Rules to establish Bywater as a village, meeting villagers in the process. There's a very cute bird direction system designed to help you find your way to your quests, and as somebody who gets incredibly distracted all the time, this was much appreciated. However, here we have my first official criticism. You can only talk to the villagers if they have a quest for you or are somehow involved in the story. There's no casual dialogue with any other hobbits aside from the voice lines that hover over their head as you run by, which, I don't know, it just feels kind of empty. Like, I'm not expecting a literary work of art or anything, but maybe a comment about the weather here and there would be nice. Also, keeping with the theme of dialogue, here comes criticism number 2. Conversations are eerily quiet, especially during the initial cutscenes. I'm not asking for a fully voiced game, but there is something kind of off-putting about the sheer amount of dialogue that's thrown at you without any sound effects aside from the rare grunt here and there and a very faint clicking sound. Even just modifying the typing sound slightly to be something a little more noticeable or maybe quirky could be a decent fix for this. Moving on from the dialogue, as you go about completing your quests, you'll be introduced to the various mechanics of the game, including cooking, fishing, foraging, and farming. Cooking is one of the more enjoyable aspects of the game as it plays a massive role in befriending your neighbours. Unlike other cozy games such as Stardew Valley, you don't gift items to villagers or talk to them to increase your friendship. Rather, you cook delicious meals for them and invite them over to eat. Each hobbit has their own tastes and preferences, which they will let you know in a letter in the mail, and the better the meal and more accurate to their tastes, the more friendship points that you'll get. The cooking itself is also pretty fun. You have different tools in your kitchen, starting with the cutting board and frying pan that you use to process your ingredients. It's basically a chill little minigame where you can either chop or fry up ingredients until they're the right level of smooth or tender. The closer you get to the ideal texture, the better quality meal you'll make and the happier your guests will be. Fishing is also pretty chill and fun, and the water looks amazing. On PC, but we will talk about the disaster that is the Switch 2 here in a little bit. The fishing minigame is pretty simple. Cast your rod out to the little waves in the water and reel it in when you hook a fish, taking care to stop reeling when it's pulling too hard or it will escape. Just like most other cozy games, there's fish that are specific to seasons and weather, and every new fish that you catch will unlock its information in your encyclopedia, making it super easy to catch more when needed. Foraging is incredibly simple. You will learn very early on that the butterflies that you see floating around Bywater will lead you to forageables such as berries and mushrooms if you follow them, all of which you can eventually use to make more delicious meals for people across the Shire. Farming is also as simple as it needs to be. You place down plots, plant your seeds in them, and water them. You can check the information on each crop in your seed pouch or at the shop when you buy them, and as you grow more, you can find a combination of crops that, when planted together, increase their overall quality for cooking. Just remember to water them. Now, decorating your home, or should I say hobbit hole, might just be my favourite part of this entire game. When you go into decoration mode, you will see that you can move and customize everything. Like everything. I spent far too long arranging my bottles and cups nice and neat on the shelves and putting all of the pillows back where they belong, and it was incredibly satisfying. I would play a game that was just this, honestly. You often get gifted furniture for completing quests for villagers, and you can buy plenty of different items and clutter from the shops in the Shire. You can even customize the style of your building both inside and outside, and you have a pretty decent selection to choose from starting out, although I assume that you can unlock plenty more down the road. After the initial quest, where you have to run around and try and find the Book of Rules, you'll find out that Bywater is in fact not considered a village, and that there are a series of things that you're going to have to do to bring it up to village standards, including setting up clubs for the various activities that you can do. After another series of some pretty basic and samey fetch quests, you unlock access to club missions and the club mission tab in your main menu, giving you many more things to do to fill your days and another way to get rewards and friendship with other hobbits. So that covers basically most of the simple gameplay that is in this game. Let's talk a little bit about the storytelling. Now, not being able to interact with NPCs other than quest-specific ones does put a little bit of a downer on the experience, but at least all of the hobbits that you do interact with have their own particular personalities, especially Old Noakes, who really does not seem to like you, or anyone else for that matter. Like we mentioned before, the events in Tales of the Shire take place after the events in The Hobbit and before the events in Lord of the Rings. If you know your stuff, you'll see plenty of familiar faces around the Shire, starting with Gandalf and his beautiful lashes, and a lot of dialogue mentioning Bilbo and his adventures. There's even a reference to the mithril shirt that was gifted to Bilbo, which he then turned into the Matham House to put on display, and which he would eventually give to Frodo in Rivendell before he sets out on his journey to Mount Doom. We also get to meet Rosie Cotton, who mentions the Gaffer, and calling him up to check in on a young Samwise Gamgee, which I think is adorable. You will see plenty of familiar Hobbit surnames as you journey around Bywater, and while I initially would have liked to have a bit more of a connection to the universe, like being able to go and visit Bilbo, or maybe going to the Matham House to see the mithril coat, it is pretty charming. Now let's talk about exactly when this game is set. We know that it's set between The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings due to the various mentions of Bilbo's adventures, and, well, because if it was set after The Lord of the Rings, the Shire would probably look a lot different. If you know your book lore, you will know that there is a pivotal event that happens at the end of the War of the Ring, and it's called the Battle of Bywater, preceded by what's known as the Scouring of the Shire, where Saruman and his ruffians seize control of the Shire. So, in a few decades, some stuff is going to go down in Bywater, and it's not great. While the hobbits win the battle, there definitely are casualties, but I have chosen to just not think about that as I skip merrily around Bywater and go about my business. It's fine. All in all, when it comes to the actual story of the game, it does leave somewhat to desire. But at the end of the day, this game is designed to be very low stakes, laid back and chill. After all, it's called Tales of the Shire, not Adventures with Bilbo. If you're a fan of Tolkien's books, you will most likely find the name drops and references to events of The Hobbit quite charming. For instance, young Tom Cotton goes on to play a pivotal role in the Battle of Bywater, and in Tales of the Shire, you discover that he really doesn't want to be a farmer like his father, and he takes a liking to the local blacksmith, a bearded female dwarf named Neffy. Small but important side note, Neffy has a duck called Ladle, and I would do anything for Ladle. Anything. Also, before anyone starts typing up a storm in the comments about how the game is woke or whatever we're calling it these days, I would kindly advise you to go read the books. All dwarves grow beards. It's canon, and she's beautiful. And also, you're weird for complaining about woke stuff in video games. Now that everyone that I want to click off the video has either clicked off the video or is writing a strongly worded comment to me, it's probably a good time to remind y'all to subscribe. I post a lot of Stardew Valley guides, but I'm hoping that this video will be the start of a new addition to the channel, Cozy Game Reviews. Don't worry, the Stardew videos won't be stopping anytime soon. I just would like to expand to other games because I do play a lot more games than Stardew Valley. I also have a Patreon linked in the description where I post weekly audiobook chapters and supporters get their names credited at the end of my videos, so if you would like to support the channel even more, you can check it out down below. Back to the video. On to another point of contention surrounding Tales of the Shire. A lot of players have brought up issues with the art direction of the game, saying that it looks more like an old GameCube or PlayStation 2 game, and I kind of get it. My first experience playing Tales of the Shire was on the Switch 2, and it was absolutely abysmal. I was genuinely shocked to see how bad the game looked. However, when I booted it up on PC, there was a clear, notable difference, and the art style felt a lot more charming and cohesive with the world and the vibes that they created. Here are some side-by-side comparisons of what the game looks like with PC on the right and Switch 2 on the left. I cannot stress enough that you should not be buying this game on the Switch 2. If I had to guess, I would say that this was made for the Switch 1 and then half-heartedly ported to the Switch 2, because every single Switch 2 game that I have played since its release has ran wonderfully and looked beautiful. This just feels like I'm back in 2003 playing The Hobbit on my GameCube, and not in the fun, nostalgic way. I mean, look at the difference in the water. Look at the jagged edges on all of the objects. I almost did not give this game another shot due to how genuinely awful the Switch 2 experience was. Now, aside from the nightmare that is the Switch 2, I actually find the graphics of this game to be really cute and nice. It's important to note that it definitely does have some bugs here and there. Performance-wise, this game asks for a lot. I was actually pretty surprised to see exactly how demanding it was, and the only reason that the footage that you're seeing today is mostly smooth is because I ran the game on my laptop, which I usually use for editing. But I wanted to get the absolute most out of the visuals, and it's a lot beefier than my PC. For context, my laptop has an RTX 5070 graphics card released in March of this year, and 32GB of RAM. And even with all of the graphics settings on medium, I still experienced frame drops here and there, and it was heating up a little bit too much for my liking, even with the cooling pad. Now, there is no way to cap the frame rate in-game aside from using VSync, which synchronizes frames to your screen's refresh rate, which can be both a good thing and also a bit of a hassle. For example, my laptop screen is 144Hz, and the game was trying its little heart out to produce 144 frames a second and failing miserably. If you're worried about performance and you also have a beefy refresh rate on your screen of choice and an NVIDIA graphics card, I highly recommend using the NVIDIA control panel to force cap your Tales of the Shire frame rate at 60 so that the game runs smoother for you. All of that being said, this is not a very accessible game to your casual, cozy gamer, which seems to be the main demographic here. It is kind of astonishing how much this game demands in terms of performance, and I definitely think that it needs to be better optimized as soon as possible. However, aside from that, I really don't have an issue with the way that the game looks when it looks good. The Shire is a cozy, welcoming place that I've always imagined as almost cartoonish in my head, so I really think that it fits the vibe well. I can understand that it's not everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. It just desperately needs to be better optimized. But whose cup of tea is it? Who is this game for? Because based on the reviews and reception, it's clearly not for everyone. Well, I think that all of the expectations tied to this game, what with it being in the Lord of the Rings universe, have really skewed the general public's view of what it's supposed to be. If you're expecting a Stardew Valley-like game but with hobbits, you will be severely disappointed. If you're expecting a Hobbit adventure with Bilbo and Gandalf and the gang, you will also be severely disappointed. But let me play devil's advocate here for a second and say that this game was never marketed as such. On the official Tales of the Shire website, it even says, "Unwind in the place where what matters most are all the little things." And that is so incredibly accurate. This game is about all of the small things that go on in the Shire. There is zero stress attached to any of the gameplay, and I know all about stress because Stardew Valley is one of my favorite games. The fishing, the cooking, and especially the decorating are very fun and very laid back. This is an incredibly low-stakes game that, yes, needs a little bit more polish here and there, but it's still fun to play if it's your kind of game. Is it going to mesh well with every single Lord of the Rings fan? Absolutely not. Is it the cozy game of the year? Also no, not even close. It's a relaxing, chill experience. You get to run around the Shire as a hobbit and show off your hairy feet, cook delicious meals, and most importantly, make your hobbit hole the most beautiful hole in all of Bywater. This game is for people looking for a small, cozy escape that isn't going to demand too much of their energy. Games do not all need to be incredibly deep narrative explorations or have the most beautiful graphics in the world. Not every game is made for every gamer, and I have a suspicion that the overlap in Lord of the Rings fans and cozy gaming fans has probably had a lot to do with the reception of this game. Here comes the big question though. Do I recommend Tales of the Shire? And to that, I propose a question for you. Does it look like something you'd enjoy? And do you care about negative reviews? If the answers are yes and no in that order, then yeah, I recommend the game. There is nothing worse than starting up a game to only nitpick it the entire way through because you were conditioned by a few bad reviews and then not enjoy it at all. For the sake of full disclosure, when I started writing this script and making this video, I was fully ready to not recommend this game at all. I fell into the trap of the bad reviews, and it didn't help that I played it on the Switch 2 at first, which I absolutely do not recommend. I cannot stress this enough. But when taken at face value, a slow-moving, cozy game about living the life of a hobbit, it's a good game. If you don't like slow-moving games that don't have any high stakes, it's probably not a good game for you, and that's okay. If you were expecting a resounding yes or no from me on this game, I'm sorry to disappoint. I just think that a lot of the make or break issues that I've seen some people complain about are actually just core features of the game and are true to the slow-paced experience that we were promised. Of course, it's valid to not like the game for those reasons and any other reason, but I don't feel comfortable saying that it's a bad game just because it's not exactly what everyone wanted it to be and it has a few kinks to iron out. But I also don't think that it's a genre-defining, amazing, captivating game that we'll all be talking about for years to come. It's fun for some people, it's reasonably priced, and I thoroughly enjoyed it once I stopped letting those bad reviews live rent-free in my head. Just stay away from the Switch 2 version, at least until it gets a proper Switch 2 update if that ever happens. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know down below in the comments, respectfully, what you think of Tales of the Shire so far and if you've been enjoying it or if you plan on picking it up in the future. Thank you so much to Patreon supporters Sheddy, Joey, Danny, Dino Technician, Jolene, Cal, Katie, Kitten, Lily, and Mazgal. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. Just thank you. If you would like to support my channel even more and become a member of the Patreon, the link is in the description. Supporters get access to a private Discord channel, your name in the credits at the end of my videos, as well as weekly audiobook uploads narrated by yours truly. And of course, my eternal gratitude. I'll be back soon with more cozy game reviews and Stardew guides, so until next time, bye!